So the hearing is now open. We'll make a motion that we open the continued public hearing for DJs. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. That looks like it's getting that's just going to 8:23, Greg.
DJ Sullivan is going to 8:23. Yes.
And we had closed the hearing last time. This was just for the decision.
Oh, okay. All right. So do we need to even say anything about it?
Nope. Just that we're gonna take it up on the August 23rd meeting.
Okay. If anyone's out there watching, DJ's decision is going to 8:23, and we're not discussing it tonight.
And Michael, that was because his attorney was on vacation and he still needed to get us a couple of pieces of information that he had not been able to get yet.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make a motion that we open the continued hearing for Ace Hardware. And this is for both the A&R and the special permit, Greg?
The letter didn't say A&R and special permit. It just said that they were withdrawing the application for Ace Hardware.
Okay. So is there a second to open this and continue?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Kevin?
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Big Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So we received a letter today from the applicant looking to withdraw this. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept their withdrawal and close the public hearing all in one. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Kevin?
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick?
Big Papastratus, aye.
And Mike Viviano, aye. So that is withdrawn and the hearing is now closed. Is the zoning article, is that a public hearing, Greg?
Nope, it is a vote on what you want to submit to the selectmen for the special town meeting.
Okay, so I'll let you talk about that.
So we had come up with 16 articles. The selectmen had asked about potentially 4 additional articles for marijuana related things. After some research and stuff, we cut it down to 2 articles on marijuana. Medical marijuana is now treatment centers, or medical marijuana treatment centers are what they're called. I guess there's like 126 pages of state regulations. We figured that it was not essential to do anything on the medical marijuana side. The recreational, we wanted to get that changed to establishments versus facilities, so it matches the state and town requirements. And the selectmen had also asked if we could add cultivator to the recreational marijuana table. So those 2 articles cover those 2 things. So at the moment we have 18 articles. We did have a public meeting the other night. We did get some comments. I have been asked, was there anything that was non-essential or that we could consider not moving forward, because there was a concern that there was a lot of zoning articles for a special town meeting. Typically, they'd like those at the annual. I did explain that we have potentially a very large package of zoning that we may need to bring to this annual spring town meeting if the town decides that it's going to follow the DHCD MBTA rezoning affordable housing language that they had passed on January 6th. The planning board, the selectmen, and town meeting will all have to make that decision over the next couple of months, but that could be a very big zoning meeting at town meeting next time. So a lot of these were corrections or things that we have been talking about and working on for over a year. If you guys feel that there are too many of them, we could hold off on D, which is PMUD renumbering. That's not changing any requirements for anybody and stuff. It was just moving it from one location to the other, putting it where all the other overlay districts are. I mean, that type of article should not be contentious at town meeting, But again, I'm just trying to flag things that if you guys don't feel comfortable with, or you're looking to try to weed something out of this town meeting, that's one thing that could happen. Peg Davis is going to join us. There are 3 articles that are brand new, meaning this is not corrections to existing language. And these are the 3 articles, H, J, and K, which all revolve around mixed use residential units above in the B1 district. That is, the B1 text is completely new language. We have been talking about that for a while. That is a big step. If that's something the board didn't feel comfortable with, you could potentially hold on those 3 articles. N has to go because N is the correction to the floodplain that FEMA is requiring. I have kind of reorganized them and lumped them together so similar articles are next to each other. So, and that was to assist the town moderator in trying to group things together. So if one article comes up and there's 1 or 2 other related articles, we take all 3 up at the same time to help move along town meeting. I don't know if you guys need me to go through each of the articles again individually. I've just kind of given you a summary, and it's pretty much now what do you feel comfortable with submitting to the selectmen and taking to our public hearing. And you always have the opportunity at our public hearing to say, hey, let's hold on this article and not move it forward at town meeting. The one thing that town moderator stressed was he does not want any floor amendments by our board at town meeting. That if we have an article, we want to go with the article that was what was submitted. We did get a couple of comments today from the Board of Appeals in regards to Article K, which is the mixed use text language. And it was a request that we add in some information about sending it to other boards for comments and stuff. And I was going to cover that by adding section 11 and a sentence to D, which was review and decision. And that would basically be the planning board shall adapt and from time to time amend rules relative to the issuance of such as permit. That's the language that's in state law that we're in our rules and regs, which we will need to have rules and regs for the B1. And that's where we typically say, we're sending them out to these boards for comments. You have to have so many copies of said plan. You know, the plan should be at the scale of this, that, and the other thing. Based on her comment on that one, I did notice that the existing language for the Brant Rock Village overlay doesn't have that kind of language in there. So I would add a new O to that one that would be review and decision. And then it's basically the same language as D in the previous one to match. And it would say the planning board shall act on applications according to the time and public hearing requirements specified in Mass General Law, Section 40A, Sections 9 and Sections 11. And then the planning board shall adapt from time to time, amend rules relative to the issuance of such permit. We can't reference the current law under special permit in the Marshfield Code because that's specifically worded for the Board of Appeals. And it says that the Board of Appeals has to send it to the planning board and that the planning board may, at their discretion, decide within 30 days to respond. To write that kind of language, I would have to take a little more time than today on that. But that was 2 other changes that I was going to do to the text to wrap it up based on everything that we heard the other night. Karen, was there anything you want to add?
No, because I think most of the other comments that we got were why we removed the medical marijuana. I don't think we got anything else on the remaining ones other than the ZBA's concern about the Brant Rock Village overlay moving to the planning board. as a special permit granting authority.
And I explained it to the ZBA that that's partially because we were doing the residential above already in the PMUD. And with the zoning changes to the B1, we would also be doing it there. That I felt it would be more consistent to have one board doing all the residential above business development in the town versus having multiple boards doing permitting and having multiple, well, we like this type of architecture or we like these kind of standards, et cetera. So again, in trying to keep things more coordinated and more streamlined, I had moved it over to the planning board.
Any board members' thoughts on if we can bring everything or if they want to see some things pulled?
I guess I am maybe a little cautious for everything to be submitted. I guess I just don't want it to, I don't know, cause any issues with multiple items being presented, especially if there's some that are, I guess, more critical than others. I mean, if there's, Greg, I know you just mentioned a few that maybe weren't as time sensitive, I assume, that could potentially wait, then I think I'd kind of agree with that suggestion, but I'd like to hear others.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Nick on that one. I've always been a big proponent of special town meeting should be for, things that really can't wait. But I think it would show good faith and be a good, kind of educational thing for us to say, this is how many articles we're looking at because of the state making changes. We're going to have to be coming back. We want to give everybody a heads up, that this is going to be happening over the next few town meetings. And I think that that's an opportunity for residents to know what's going on. But I think that if we could hold off, I was trying to think about it in my head. I think the ones that aren't as pressing and maybe the ones that are new, Greg, that you had mentioned, the bylaws that people that aren't an alteration to something existing. I don't know if we want to hold that for an annual, because that seems more like an annual town meeting thing for me.
So that would be D, H, J, and K. So D is the PMUD moving it over to overlays. And then the other three are all directly related to B1 mixed use residential above, which is something new.
Yeah, I agree with both Nick and Katie, because I think to do them all would be too much. And we've already had some pushback from the town moderator. And I think it shows good faith if we prioritize them and do the ones that really need taken care of first, and then push the others off to another meeting.
Okay, I'm fine with that if everyone feels that way. So we'll push those off, Greg.
You got Kevin left, I think.
Yep. Hey, the only thing, and I talked to Karen a little bit about it, and I know the selectmen are the ones behind the marijuana, the changing of the language there with adding cultivation. One thing I know when we was put together years ago, one use, which is good paying jobs and a good use, is a testing lab, but they need more testing labs. So maybe it's something we look at in the future. I don't want to mess with the selectmen's article this time, but I talked to Karen. I looked at Karen a little bit, trying to find the language in the Cannabis Commission. I wasn't too successful to see where that would fit, but that's something down the road. I think if, I'd rather tweak it once rather than keep going back at a few times, but just to see what is allowable use and what isn't. But as I said, that's not my article. And I agree with Katie and the others that there's some we can push to the spring. I'd be in favor of that as well.
Greg, which ones were you saying we would put off? I mean, it sounds like the bulk of them would be put off then. I know that the town administrator was really excited for the B1 change, but is the board saying they don't want to do that right now?
So I was saying D, which is the PMUD renumbering, H, J, and K, which are all the ones, it's the mixed use definition that's directly related to the B1. It's the B1 change in the table of use and the B1 text. So I was suggesting that those four, if they needed to cut something, those would be the four that I would recommend cutting. N has to go this time, otherwise the town gets thrown out of the flood insurance. And the rest of these are like corrections that we've noticed that the sooner we get the correction in, the better off we would be, like clarification on the signs and that type of stuff.
So sorry, Greg, I'm scrolling through and looking at all of them in that huge document, but if they're clustered together, like if they're going to be grouped together, what you think like the moderator would do is like, how many groupings would we have?
Oh, so A and B would be together. C is by itself. D was going to be by itself. E, F, and I think E and F and G are all kind of related. So there's several of them where there's 2 or 3, and there's a couple of them that they're by themselves.
Okay.
We're probably going to have 6, 7 times that we'll have to go up to the podium for articles, even if we drop these 4.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It
Wouldn't
is
it
a
be
lot.
It is a
5?
lot. And there's a lot, and I don't want to put it off too, because these are things that have to be done. And I understand what you're saying too, is that we don't want to be responsible for 20 articles at annual town, on top of everything else at the annual.
I mean, Greg, of the ones we just talked about, maybe not going forward, are there any of them that are really cantankerous? I mean, if I know we don't want to go up there 7 times in a row, but if they're quick changes, like Katie just said, if we're looking in the spring, we could have, another 9 or 10. Let's just say if this change is coming down with the state and the big stuff with the MBTA. I mean, I know people don't like to do stuff on the special, but if we're looking down the road, I mean, maybe we can get a few more in.
So we didn't have anybody get up and say, I'm dead set against this change.
Which
Even for
the B1?
and what?
You mean the B1? No one,
Well, no, on almost any of these articles,
Right.
there was no opposition to the articles per se. The B1 is like the biggest change. We're tweaking the Brant Rock Village overlay, you know what I mean? We're doing a small change to the accessory apartment. The accessory apartment keeps coming back as this is something that the ZBA and the building commissioner want us to try to fix.
Right.
So, I mean, that's why I like some of these, they are small, but they're like, they can be overwhelming, but they're small. And we didn't get anybody against it. And I still think that let's go with the public hearing as well. And if we get a lot of people at the public hearing that says, no, this is ridiculous, we don't want to do it, then we don't have to move that article forward as well. I mean, it gives you a second choice or a second way of weeding if you want to. We've never had this first public hearing before. We had some good conversation, but there weren't that many people. And that's been the problem. We usually don't get the people that are in opposition until we get to town meeting floor. So even after our public hearing, we may not know, hey, there's like 30 people that really think this is a bad idea or that type of thing.
we have had, the chamber seems to be in support of what we have proposed so far, especially they have commented on the B1, and I know they've called several times to ask questions about it, and it sort of works with their whole plan of a livable downtown.
I've been wondering, I've thought this for a while, and I don't want to get off track, but in terms of how to get through multiple articles in like an efficient way, I've often wondered about town meeting and why we couldn't like pre-record presentations, so that instead of like waiting for like somebody to pull up the slides, change the slides, waiting for somebody to get to the microphone and everything, like I have a Screencastify account where you can like record over a PowerPoint. And I don't know if that would be helpful, and if we could do anything like that in advance too, to try and cut down on questions at town meeting, if that would be anything. And I agree. I think if we go forward to the public to the public hearing, And then we can always pull something if an issue comes up that we're going to have to address and put it on the annual, right?
We
Yeah.
could certainly have a more recorded PowerPoint presentation. I mean, we still have the slides from the last thing, but we could put it on our
I
website. We
think
could
this is
put it on
Fred calling. Hold on one second.
the town's website to say, you know, here's information about our proposed changes. We'd love your input. Come to our hearing, come to town meeting.
Yeah. And I think that that might be helpful too, like with the moderator, like being concerned that this is going to take up a lot of time at town meeting is, you know, anything that we can do to try and.
But that's sort of like I mean, this happens all the time. I mean, we put off changes. I mean, we put off changes when I was on the board over and over again because nobody wanted the hassle of taking it to town meeting. And if we do it based on the moderator doesn't want 2 nights of a town meeting, that's not necessarily the
Yeah.
best decision to make it based on.
Oh no,
Correct.
that's why I'm saying I now I'm kind of shifting. I think that we
Yeah.
should go forward with everything and
Just see what happens.
I mean, they sort of all fall into this whole thing of making more residential, more affordable stock between the affordable village and the PMUD and then the mixed use downtown and even helping to get the Brant Rock overlay district off the ground. I mean, that was first put in 2014, but nobody's done anything. So I think tweaking it helps to move it forward. And it's sort of a whole theme of helping to get housing before we have to do that MBTA change of.
And I don't know if you guys mentioned the PMUD changes up on Commerce Way is supported by the homeowners associations in the neighborhoods, as well as the property owner and stuff.
I mean,
And we've been talking about that one for quite a while. Mike, that was Fred calling. He's been having difficulties getting into the meeting.
Hey, Greg and Karen, I think, you know, like Katie said, I think you guys have put a lot of work into it and we don't know what else may come in the spring. We may get hit with a bunch of other changes. I think just go forward with what we have. And if there's people have a big consternation at the public hearing that, and we need more work, we withdraw 1 or 2. But I think, again, I mean, the moderator maybe doesn't want, if it goes to 2 nights, it could go 2 nights, nothing to do with us. Could be some other small article that drags it out. So I think you guys put a lot of work into it. And like Karen just said, in the past, we pushed articles out to the next meeting and then it gets pushed again. And, you know, so, I mean, I would be in favor of just moving forward with all of them now after listening to everyone on the board.
I'm glad it's a conversation that we're having though.
Yeah.
And so I think that if any, you know, if that way we can explain our thought process. So
It seems like we're going that direction now, Greg.
Okay, so we will move forward with the submittal. And in our back pocket is if at the public hearing, we get a lot of negative feedback or things that we hadn't thought about, the planning board can always just not move forward on that particular article at town meeting floor.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Greg, one of the things that Maureen O'Malley said was they wanted to know if there was going to be an in-person public hearing. And I said I didn't think so, but I don't know if that would change people participating one way or another. It sounded like they wanted to be in person, but that was just sort of my feeling.
So that would be the board's choice. If we went that route, I think I would say, let's just do it a straight in-person meeting and not to try to do the hybrid.
Yeah.
Because it is difficult right now doing a hybrid Zoom/public meeting. And I don't know how people feel with the newest strain, et cetera, on that score. I think if we didn't have this latest strain, I think we would have been in person. Oh, here comes Fred.
I'm more inclined, I think that the being on Zoom
There I am.
gives more people opportunities.
Okay, I just bring that up just because I think they like meetings in person.
So Fred, this latest question was, should we try an in-person meeting for this zoning public hearing versus a Zoom meeting?
Considering I tried every which way, but the Sunday, I just got in. It was unbelievable. I got a new laptop. I know I'm technology challenged, but my God,
So,
So you're a vote for in-person.
I'm sorry. What are you guys, are you deciding whether to go in person, or is that what you're deciding for the zoning?
Well, it sounds like people want Zoom. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I'm fine with Zoom. I think Katie's correct. It does
Yeah.
give more people more opportunity. And who was the person that requested in-person meetings?
They didn't necessarily request. They were just interested if we were going to do it. They're the Maureen O'Malley, the woman who's very interested in the affordable village, who lives
And
on
she did do the Zoom meeting.
Woodlock. Yeah, I'm not saying they would, but they just seemed like they're like, oh, will you be going back to that? It's kind of.
Well, not right now. It doesn't seem like anyone
Okay.
really wants to. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
So Fred, to quickly summarize it, we had a discussion about whether or not to hold any articles, and the board has decided after some debate that we are going to go forward with the full package, go to the public hearing, and if there is a lot of negative or things that we had not thought about and that we question the articles, we just won't move those particular articles at town meeting floor. Fred, I think we lost your sound.
Oh, and I should just clarify,
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
not opposed to, if people need to talk out an article, I think that that's fine and necessary.
Yeah,
In case there's a question so that we're not in that position where the moderator has asked us not to
yeah.
alter anything. That was my thinking on that. Not, everybody's going to have different opinions. I'm not saying to go forward only if we think that things are going to be unanimous and quick. That's not my thought.
Yeah, I think so. I went through this thoroughly the last couple of times, and I think that's the better way to do it. I'm sure people are going to have some questions, and it'd be better to have it in person than the Zoom.
So Fred, we're talking about 18 articles, which will be 2 of them, which would be the selectmen's like marijuana changes that they
Okay.
asked for.
Yeah, they shouldn't count against us anyway, the selectmen's articles.
Well, we're kind of covering it for them.
Yeah, but still,
Doing a favor.
yeah. So we need a vote, though, to put the articles on the warrant.
Yes.
Okay.
everyone ready for that?
Yep, I'm ready.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move all the current articles forward to the selectmen for town meeting. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Kevin,
Hi, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, aye.
Peg,
Peg Davis, aye.
and Mike Viviano, aye. Okay, so those will all move forward now with our plan of action in place.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
What was the next? Board staff report, Greg?
Yep, board staff report. We have a couple of items on there. I sent you an email earlier today about proposed comments for the ZBA public hearing tomorrow. They have a lot of things on their agenda. For the most part, my recommendation was to have no comment because they're like additions, accessory apartments, that type of stuff, which your board typically doesn't get into. The one that we did have questions on was the Harbor Park additional parking. And we did send in 4 questions, and in the email, I outlined the 4 questions for you. So if you guys are okay with that, we will officially transmit that tomorrow morning to the Zoning Board of Appeals, so they have it for their hearing.
Any questions from anyone?
No, I like
Okay.
those questions.
That'd be great. Thank you, Greg.
No, I didn't have any questions. I went through it this afternoon.
Okay, so we'll forward that. The next was, we did have some comments and concerns about the stone wall at Beaver Crossing that was being rebuilt. They had been using some concrete. We got a hold of Lara, and they have made corrections to it. I will just quickly show you. Do you see the 2 photos of the wall, so they ripped out all the concrete and they were trying to use the rounder stones and stuff like that versus flat stones and stuff. So we tried to address some of the concerns with the residents and stuff. And this was what they ended up redoing versus one that was poured concrete, which was mostly concrete, and then you could see some stones and stuff. I did check this with Cindy Castro and the Historical Commission, and she felt that this was much better.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give you that update that they had, Laura had got right back to it, and they did work to correct that and to address the comments. The last thing is that we have, on my side, is we have heard from the judge on the Christmas Cove decision. We have a revised decision from our town council, and we need the board to vote on that decision. It's basically following the directives of the attorney, and we will have that submitted tomorrow morning to the town clerk. So
We need a vote. We need a vote now.
motion to approve the a decision prepared by Bob
Is
Galvin's
it
office.
approve or just endorse? Because
I guess endorse, because there's no conditions and stuff. It's really basically, you're just saying you're aware of this and that you're endorsing, because you have to endorse the plans and stuff.
Any questions from the board?
No, I like the use of endorse because it's
Okay.
certainly.
I'm
not
fine.
Yes,
exactly-
agreed.
Can't
Yeah,
hurt
that's
if Calvin endorses it, yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion that we endorse the decision or the plan. We endorse the document from Bob Galvin. Is there a second?
Second the motion, Fred Monaco.
Thank you, Katie.
Aye.
Katie O'Donnell.
Kevin,
Oh, sorry. Katie O'Donnell, aye.
Kevin,
Kevin Cantwell, aye.
you, Nick.
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Greg, does Peg vote on this?
No, she wasn't involved in that decision.
Okay, and I have Mike Viviano. that can move
Karen, do
forward.
we have anything else on the board side?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just,
then-
well, just that the MVP gets kicked off next week or whatever,
Oh,
the next round.
yes. Another grant for us to do. I don't know if any of the board members want to be involved in that one. That is going to be reviewing with Woods Hole Group, our whole coastline, and figuring out, do we need higher standards for the future, looking at climate change and everything else going on for oceanfront development and stuff. And that we could have designated areas where it's not recommended to rebuild, recommended to rebuild at a higher standard, or what we have in place is fine, would be the three categories that we're investigating as part of this municipal vulnerability grant.
Okay, if anyone wants to be part of it, contact Greg. Or Karen. What are the meeting minutes? What was the date for those?
July 26th.
July 26th. I'll make a motion that we approve the meeting minutes for July 26, 2021.
Second, Katie O'Donnell. I just did want to clarify one thing on them where I talked about the fence at Beaver Crossing. That I thought that in the future that maybe we should just talk about defining what type of fence, but I don't have a specific type that I
Oh,
to rail. I just thought it might be something that we want to think about in the future is like exactly what type of fence, but I understand that would be different fences for different situations.
do you want me to remove that part then? Just say
if you
that
could
you
just
want the,
break like the two split rail. I just think that it just might be something that we should keep in mind for future decisions.
Mike, we have a hand up with from Colleen.
Okay, Colleen, name and address?
Hi there, Colleen Burgess, 540 Highland Street. I just had a question about your endorsement of Christmas Cove and what does that actually entail and where can I find the decision, the judge's decision on that? I hadn't seen anything publicly announced.
Yeah, Greg.
So we have basically, in the past, typically things are remanded to the board. This time, the judge basically said it is approved as shown on the plans. And
What exactly is approved?
8 units of single-family houses on reduced lot sizes. So the judge's decision, I have it as attachment to what the planning board has signed. And that's available tomorrow morning. And I can show you the set of plans that we have.
And has it been available to the whole committee tonight so that they realize this is in a historical district with abutting conservation land, endangered species, septic concerns, and the owner's prior reckless regard for historic property in Dover, Mass?
It doesn't matter what the planning board thinks. It has been, basically, the judge has taken it out of the planning board's hands. We were told that this is to be endorsed and submitted tomorrow morning.
Who tells you to endorse it?
The judge.
Okay, so basically you really have no power over
We
this
have
at
no
all.
power over this. The board had voted against this.
Then why did it happen?
Then why are you endorsing it tonight?
Because we were directed to endorse it by the judge.
Are you
What are the?
are you really that committed to
what are the recourse?
take the recourse of the judges? Like, why can't you not endorse it?
I don't want to go to jail.
I don't think you're going to go to jail. I think you're going to do the right thing for the town when you've got a historic district with conservation land with a reckless regard for historic property. So you don't have to endorse it. That might be your.
Once you read the decision, you'll understand.
Well, it's not publicly available to me.
No,
and you're
it's not. And in fact, the judge did not want anything, basically told us, you planning board, this is over. We denied it. The planning board denied this.
Well, you should deny it again.
The planning board cannot deny
Why
it
not?
again. You read his remand.
Has town council weighed in on this?
Town council is the ones that told us, get this signed and get this in tomorrow.
No, you just told me the judge said that,
The
not town
judge
council.
said it as well, and town council said that they weren't going to appeal it and that we needed to sign it
What's the root of?
and that it needed to be in tomorrow. Read the decision tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll read it tomorrow after you've already made the decision tonight, but it sounds like you've been bullied into a position by bureaucracy, and I just wish that.
Colleen, I don't think I disagree with you, but if you'd like to read it tomorrow, we're going to continue with the hearing. I appreciate you weighing in, but everything Greg has said tonight, I feel is correct. So
I'm sure Greg's doing his job and regurgitating whatever a judge or town council says. But I think as a board that's elected in the town of Marshfield, you should be looking out for historic districts and realize what ramifications your decisions actually have. And you don't get fired from being on a planning board. You might not get reelected the next year, but you might not get reelected the next year because you made the wrong decision tonight either. That's all.
thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Let's see. We did the meeting minutes. Was board and staff all done, Greg?
Yep, at least on the board, staff side.
Okay, anything from the board at all they'd like to add? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion that we close tonight's public hearing. Is there a second?
Second, Katie O'Donnell. Aye, Katie O'Donnell.
Kevin,
Aye, Kevin Cantwell.
Nick,
Nick Papastratus, aye.
Fred,
Fred Monaco, aye.
Peg.
Peg Davis, aye.
Thank you, and Mike Viviano, aye. Thank you, everyone. That concludes tonight's meeting.
Good night.
Okay, good night.
Thanks.